welcome to another episode of Fast Forward series. I'm your host for today. My name is Nastasia Dux. And if you're new here, I work at Vodacom and responsible for the small and medium-sized business segment at Vodacom. So I definitely think I have the best job. Today, we're very, very excited to have Peter Jooste with us from Algorithm Agency. And Peter's here to share all the tips, everything you need to know about search engine optimization. Now, if you've been following Fast Forward series for quite a while, you would have recalled previous sessions that we had. This was a topic that was of huge demand. There were many questions, and our guest at the time wasn't really familiar with SEO. So we decided to do a little bit of digging on our side and find some really good industry experts that can share exactly what it is that we need to know and how we can start leveraging search engine optimization to improve our digital marketing efforts. So yes, without further ado, just actually before I introduce Peter, for a little bit of logistics, it would be really, really great if you guys could engage in with our actual questions, because for us to make sure that we really are delivering on what it is that you guys want to know and find out about, ask us questions in the poll, in the questions chat, and I will be monitoring it on the side. And presentation, we'll actually just make sure that these questions. I have a couple of polls, which again, I think in the poll, it would be really good if you guys can go and respond, because it just gives us a better idea of where you're at in your journey from an SEO perspective. Okay, so yes, if you can let us know where you're joining from. I see we've got Florence joining from Cape Town. We've got JD joining from Pretoria. We've got Paul also all the way from Pretoria as well. So guys, again, let us know where you're joining from, and also what type of business you run. So if you have links to your website, a little bit of insight in terms of what industry you're part of, see how we can adapt today's session to cover so that it's a lot more specific to what your needs are. Cool. So let's get into it. The guest we have today, as I've mentioned, is Peter Jooste. Peter has over 10 years worth of experience in digital marketing and is the head of SEO at an agency called Algorithm. So I definitely think we are in good hands. Peter, do you want to introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, thanks, Naz. Thanks for having me. And I'm Peter. I work at Algorithm, as Naz said, and heading up the SEO department. My history ranges from online casinos back in the sort of dirty days of SEO, all the way now to we've got a lot of very sort of big corporate and e-commerce clients that we look after through the agency. So of quite a breadth of experience and a lot of different clients that we've worked on. So hopefully can give you some good information today.
Awesome. So guys, I also don't want you to be alarmed about the fact that Peter works with really big corporates. He knows that the attendees here today are entrepreneurs and the future employers of South Africa, if you're not already employing a whole lot of people. So the way we've positioned SEO today, guys, is so that you can grasp it, you can understand it, and also you can take some of these tips and tricks into your business starting today. So I'm very, very excited about the content, and I'm not going to hold this up anymore. Peter, handing over to you to get us started on this SEO.
Yeah, so I guess to start, like the whole point of, I guess, today's session is to figure out how we can use SEO and search engines to help our business grow, right? The sort of example traffic sort of worm that we have over here is the best. This is what everybody wants to see, your sort of traffic going from zero, which is all done optimizing your content and essentially implementing a solid SEO plan across your site. So the three key things that an SEO, I guess, strategy or plan will give you is increased traffic to your website. You need that in order to achieve the second point, which is generating leads. That's usually what the main website is. It's either to generate leads, sign-ups, or to sell a product. And all of that would be considered, generating leads for this presentation. And then finally, improving a brand a brand's visibility, which is essentially an indication of how frequently and where a brand is seen online, what sort of searches is it showing up for, and how are people able to sort of discover you when doing a search. And essentially the way a search engine works is it's very much based around the user and not so much the site. So a search engine like Google, it isn't really looking at your website and then trying to decide where it goes. It's looking at the queries and questions that users are typing into Google, like, how do I find a hairdresser or hairdresser near me? And then it's trying to serve the most relevant results from the web for those queries. And that's what SEO is all about. It's just becoming relevant to, I guess, your market, the people that are looking for you, people that you can help with your services and products. So that's sort of like the basic, I guess, introduction to SEO. That's what it can do. The rest of this is going to be about, what can we actually do to improve our site, our presence, and then the actual search performance. So kicking straight onto probably the most important part of SEO is figuring out the right keywords to target. This is pretty much the most important thing, the most important step that needs to be taken and really understood, I think, in order for your SEO strategies to work. Whenever somebody does a search, again, they open up Google on their phone, their laptop, their tablet, whatever it is, and search for something, they're either asking a question or they're looking for something quite specific. Those are pretty much the two kinds of searches that take place. And this really helps you understand, first of all, your audience. What are they looking for? What are their problems and pain points? And we'll talk a little bit later how that feeds into your content strategy. But it's finding these in the first place that are really going to sort of get you on the right track from the very beginning. So those points that we have up here, identify your audience, that comes from your keyword research. Again, let's just use hairdressers as an example. If you're a hairdresser, you're obviously not going to do keyword research around, I don't know, water filtration systems. That's a wild example, but we'll be looking for hairdresser. But what are your people, your audience looking for? Are they looking for certain hairstyles? Are they looking for, hair treatment products? Where are they hanging out? What sort of questions are they asking? And then how is that relevant to your business? How can your business become relevant to those kinds of searches? And relevance and high volume keywords. High volume obviously means there's a lot of people typing that in. If you see a keyword showing up in a keyword tool, we'll talk about that in just a sec. You can be sure that there is a search volume there, and that's pretty much what we want. The reason that that's sort of a standalone point is that oftentimes with a lot of the clients even that we have here at Algorithm, we find that business owners tend to get stuck in almost industry jargon. They have a certain way of addressing a particular product or service or solution, which on the internet is really searching for. And the key is to sort of try and figure out what the market is actually typing in or searching for in order for you to start creating content and optimize your site around those searches. Again, just touch works. It's kind of like a question answer box. The user picks up their phone, they type in a question from, I don't know, and it gives you an answer. That's the search engine at the moment. Again, for your website, again, you're a hairdresser. How do we then get your show up? And this step here is good research. And I'll jump out and have a look at available here. Google Keyword Planner. This is free. Google, in that they give you a lot of free. That they arm you to do pretty much to do in order to conquer the search engines. And this is important discovery. And then we need to know that we're going after searches that are typing in frequently and often, so in the right places. So, and this is a free tool. Then we've got SEMrush. We use that internally here. Agency. It is a paid, but it is quite useful. We'll have a look at the Google Keyword Planner, where a lot of the SEMrush data comes from anyway. First of all, this is free, and also this is straight from Google's mouth, as it were. So I'm just going to, I've got this open. Okay,
Peter,
cool.
while you're bringing, I think one of the important things that I really want the audience to also about SEO is that all of your efforts are things to leverage then in reducing from a marketing perspective. So usually focus on search engine optimization so you can get a lot more free traffic, even though it may cost get that free traffic. If you need to do from an SEO perspective, is it reduced hiring customers? I think it is quite important, and I'd pay very careful attention to what Peter's about to share, because to his point as well, when a lot of the tools are actually free, there's very little reason on why we shouldn't be involved in understanding it, and resources around understanding it in a lot more detail. So the aim of today is not to leave you as a super user at the end of SEO. I mean, Peter's got 10 years worth of experience. It's to show you that it's not as and it's not something that you can't do yourself should you need to get started with this journey altogether.
Yes, and this tool is actually provided ads, right? So knows very well that you know. Let me just quickly have a look at a search result really quickly. We've got ads popping up at the top. I typed in keyword planner. This would be the best way to find the keyword tool, by the way. Just pop it in planner. That organic traffic starts here. So this is the keyword planner, and this is, again, like you say, Naz, the free traffic that you know, a lot of people click. There's a strange behavior where ad because it's an ad, and really we were trying to capitalize. These are organic rounds, but we're optimizing through these keywords. So here is the keyword tool or the keyword planner provided by Google, based on massive piles of sort of search data. Really what we want to be doing is looking for the new keywords, and then a little bit further down that journey, once we know what keywords we're targeting, we've created that content, we might want to get search volumes and forecasts in order to sort of, you know, see whether or not that trend is continuing in terms of, like, the numbers of searches, etc. But for now, discover new keywords is really where we want to focus. So they really do a nice sort of step. You can type in their hairdresser, meal delivery, we'll use them. That's it. We can add as many keywords as you like, and then that's as simple as that. Great tool that goes in and correctly, it's given us 0 results. So let's do it one more time. Meal delivery. Great for that whole lot of keyword delivery. We get the average, and so it goes down a lot of options. And from here, we need to start picking the most, start collecting those and our content. We'll get to that in a second, but using a tool like this, available, finding the searches that people are. I just want to expand that a little bit. Home delivery meals, vegetarian meal delivery. So immediately we can start to see what people are looking for, identifying the kinds of, I guess, searches we want to optimize around, become relevant to the product that we're going after. So that was just a run through of the keyword tool. Again, easy to get, and definitely a starting any sort of SEO strategy. We need to know it so that we know what sort of content we'd want in order to get those visits. So fundamental sort of starting point for that, to the sort of part 2, I guess, of that, which is optimization. So Onsite Optimization is essentially, I've got a snapshot over here. If you do a search for algorithm, we see we've got our alt heading, and then that sort of snippet that shows, that's referred to as metadata. So Onsite Optimization helps us optimize the metadata, and then looking at the page itself, the headings, the page copy, and then the keywords that we're targeting on that copy. So the way Google, again, works is, you know, it uses that sort of, it uses data that you provide to create these results. So using your, I guess in this case, it would be the business name as your page meta title. These are, again, things that if you have a website, if you're not doing this yourself, your dev team or whoever built your site will very easily be able to update this. You get your meta title and meta description, and this is really how your search presence is born, really. You've got this is the first interaction that a user is normally going to have with your website. So you want to make sure that you've got a really good snippet of copy over here. Think of it as almost a yellow pages where I remember the race in the old days to become AAA, AAA advertising. Everybody wanted to be first. And it's kind of the same now. You want to be first for whatever people are searching. And we do that by being, first of all, relevant. In this case, it's a branded search. Somebody's looking for algorithm. And then second of all, give the visitor a reason to click on your result instead of anybody else's. And the way we would do that is by creating this little snippet here. We call it meta description. And again, this is the first thing that a lot of people are going to see. And they're going to immediately decide. It takes 0.3 seconds, I think it is, to make a decision on what search result you're going to click on. So people are scanning, they're not taking a lot of time to read. So this is a very, very important step and often overlooked. It's a very, very easy way to optimize how many clicks you're actually getting from search, is just by spending time on describing your business, service, product, page, whatever it is, so that people have a good reason to click through. The next part of this, I don't have a slide for that, but maybe we can have a look at a page, is just optimizing your page headings and then your page copy. Again, based on that keyword research that we would have just done using, the keyword planner, and make sure that we're talking about that topic. One thing I haven't really mentioned, because we've been talking about keywords specifically, is that the way sites are ranked, it does change a lot, but this has been fairly steady in the last like 5 or 6 years, is that Google's focusing a lot more on topics than on specific keywords. So you might find that you've gone and done a Google search and you've changed the query with the results, but you're still getting the same results. That's because the topic is still the same. And that's essentially what Google's doing now. So when you, again, let's just use hairdresser as the example, just make sure you talk about hairdresser things. If it makes sense to be part of, a hairdresser salon, hairdressing products, etc., scissors, these sorts of things, then it's all going to make sense that it would appear on your pages. I'm not saying just go and put anything relevant onto your page. Make sure that it makes sense. Obviously, we're doing this for a user, and the user needs to, understand your page, and it needs to match what they're expecting to find when they land there. We'll talk a little bit more on that in a second. But all of that's based on that keyword research. In terms of matching the headings to sort of popular search terms, and then improving and leveraging existing content. This is quite a useful step, really, which is essentially when you've got a website. This is assuming now that you have a website. You've already built it, you've got a lot of content up, and you might have pages that are already talking to a specific topic or focused on a certain keyword or solution. And based on that keyword research, we should now be able to look at those pages and sort of improve them, start matching them a little bit closer to the searches or the questions that people are searching for. And that's one thing I actually forgot to touch on the keyword side. Also look for questions. Very, very important that we're answering the questions that people are asking. And Google, again, does a great job of telling you what people are asking. If you do any search, there'll be a people also ask section, and it'll be a list of 5 or 6 questions. And then each time you click on those questions, it'll add another 4 or 5 to the list. And it's essentially this questions that people are looking for answers for on the internet, which is very useful when guiding the kind of the optimizations we want to make to a page. So leveraging existing content, for example, we might want to answer some questions that people may have around your particular product or service. Google will then find that, and hopefully you start showing up in those sort of answer sections. So yeah, on-page optimization, highly important.
Sorry, just one quick question on this. When people hear stuff like keywords, we may fall guilty into wanting to find the keyword that has the most, like the highest number, and whether related or unrelated, try and incorporate into the site. Don't you just want negative impacts of actually not using the incorrect keywords and the results being not relevant to a user search or query?
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, keyword research, again, with the right sort of, I guess, preparation beforehand, can be quite easy. But like you say, oftentimes you're going to find a really good keyword like hairdresser, and try and optimize your website just for hairdresser. The problem that you run into there is that you're not being very specific, and that's also not really relevant to real search. The key thing to consider is really that search intent. So me as Mr. Customer, I go and open Google and I'm typing in, if I just type in hairdresser, what sort of result do you think I'm looking for? That seems more like a dictionary query or maybe an explanation of a hairdresser. It's not really specific. Most of the time people are going to be searching either locally, we touch on that in a second, or sort of navigationally, we call it, where they're looking for something specific. So we don't want to a keyword that has a lot of search volume and then try and create content around that, because again, we need to topics and then also that we're relevant to the search. I just want to skip forward in a sec to this slide here. So creating high. So that previous slide, yes, we want to optimize. Our content looks good and we're using the right keywords. But how do we know that those are the right keywords? So we've identified our audience. Okay, so these are people who want a haircut. Again, for this whole thing, we'll assume that we're a hairdresser, and they're looking for a hairdresser. They're not going to be typing in just hairdresser. If you do, there's going to be a lot of other results, dictionary.com, Wikipedia, maybe. These are not the results that you want to show someone who wants to get their haircut. They're going to be typing in things like hairdresser near me, hairdresser near, I'm in Sandton, sir, hairdresser in Sandton, these kinds of things. We need to make sure that we're targeting the right stuff. And I think it really is fundamental that we've got those right search terms in place. Otherwise, we're not going to reach the right audience. So creating high quality content, what does that even mean? How do we do that? How can a small business start creating good content? And the key, the short answer, be relevant to your audience. If you're a lawyer, there's no point writing about the latest SpongeBob. It's not going to resonate. Nobody's going to read that. It's not going to drive the right traffic to your website. We need to be talking about things that we're again, if we're a good supplier, we need to be talking about our product we solve for businesses, and that's the way that we're going to be creating the right sort of content. Provide value to the audience. Again, we're experts. If we've, got a business, we've set up a website, we're good at something. And the key is figuring out what that is in terms of search. So again, the hairdresser would be hairdresser Edenvale, right? You'd set up your site and you'd optimize around those search terms. Anybody searching for a hairdresser in Edenvale, then you'd want them to find you. We've got to answer the questions. This graphic on the right side here has probably been a bit confusing and everybody's wondering what it is. This is from a tool called Answer the Public. And this is essentially a massive set of questions people asking around any. They break it down into the what, how, the when, the where. So every kind of question, people might be asking around your product, you can tool like Answer the Public. And this again helps you start providing value to your audience, answering their questions, and this in turn starts, improving the quality of your content. So you'll see that the theme through this whole SEO talk today is going to be around your content, the quality, and then matching that intent, being relevant. Almost everything we do is to become more relevant, more discoverable to your audience. Got that there as a key point. And we're, as business owners, we're an expert at something. Way to build we call it like the thought leadership, and then that sort of becomes front of mind, sort of almost is to show people tasty little tidbits in their day-to-day, whatever it is, away some really, really good information, and you'll find people. And when we start talking about analytics a little bit later, we'll be able to, again, use other tools from Google to see what those users are doing, how they're interacting with the site. And that's all going to come down to how well we've constructed that content. But yeah, that's engaging content. Give people a reason to read, consume your content, not somebody else's. And one thing to also consider is if you're looking to sort of improve your site, assuming you've got one already, and you start looking around at your competitors online and having a look at the stuff that they're creating and start thinking, maybe I should do something similar. Just keep in mind that we don't want to be copying what the competitors are doing, because that's already been done. The whole idea would be to take something that seems to be working really well and do it better, provide more, give your audience something, really special. Obviously, this will take a little bit of time and a little bit of effort, but at the end of the day, that's absolutely worth it, because usually once you've start picking up your rankings, as in showing up higher and higher in search results, it becomes more difficult for your competitors to start taking those slots away from you. So the better you're performing, the harder it is for pretty much everybody else to keep up with you. So it's definitely worth the time and effort to use tools like this to start creating content that, again, it's just going to resonate. It's answering the questions. We've done that keyword research. This tool here, Answer the Public, will show us a whole lot more questions. We can create entire pieces of content around those, or we can incorporate them in an FAQ section, depending on what that sort of page function is all about. And then finally, the format matched to your audience, also very, very important. Traditional SEO focuses on content for Google and search engines, so it's your normal web page, shows up as the blue link in search. But we're also seeing videos pop up. So if your audience is spending a lot of time asking questions on how to and what is, that might be a really good YouTube video. So content, the rise of platforms like TikTok, short 5, 6, 7. This might be a great way to advertise and sort of attract a new audience as well. And these are things that, again, if you don't have a website, get on social. Make sure that social media is working for you. I think everybody at this point knows how to use Facebook and Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok. Well, I'm still learning that one. I'm learning from my niece. And, these things this is where people are hanging out. This is how we're going to start attracting the right sort of people to the website. And again, the tools that we can use to help us with that, Google Keyword Planner. Again, as we get better at using that, start using the right sort of keywords to generate the keyword suggestions. We start unlocking a whole lot of little insights. What topics are they interested in? Answer the Public, this sort of question answer, or question provider, and then SEMrush, again, that page search tool. It might be useful if you trying to do a lot of keyword research at scale. Then a tool like SEMrush starts becoming really useful. So that's sort of like the quick steps to creating high quality content. And then I spoke a little bit earlier about sort of trying to be relevant to, I guess, the kinds of searches that users are typing in. And local search is huge. That's what a search, and it's probably the first place as a small business or place to start off. That is just make sure we've got that local presence. The snapshot I've got over here is of a Google sort of location result. So again, if anybody's doing a branded search, in this case, the user would have typed in algorithm agency, that right-hand side on their desktop, and I think it's the first thing that, and direct link to your business. This gives pretty much every other business zero chance of essentially taking that click from you. The reason we want to get into SEO, I think, is because we all need to be visible online. That means that it is competitive. So even branded search, you'll find you often get competitive brands trying to squeeze their ads in on top of your organic results. And this is a great way to sort of own that space. So just set up that Google business profile. It used to be called Google My Business, but the Google business profile, very easy. You can load your images there. That's a nice picture of our foyer. It's got the map and pretty much every other piece of information that a user could possibly need to interact with your business right away. And that's essentially lead generation right off the bat. They don't even have to click on your website. It's all here. This is another free tool from Google that's very, very easy to set up. You just type in Google business profile, and that tool will come up. You then images, a link to your website if you have one, social media profiles if you don't, and it's as simple as setting that up. Again, there are options for you to add, keywords, define your business, and you'll see that your business profile will show up for things that your business does. It definitely gives Google a lot of information about your business, your presence there. A side sort of benefit is that you also appear on maps.
Awesome. And Peter, I just want to actually point out to the audience, if you guys aren't familiar with our platform called VHub, it's a free platform to help you on your digital transformation journey. We have 2 pieces of content related to your Google business profile. One, how to set it up and the importance of that. There's actually a 20-minute masterclass done by Google South Africa on how to get it set up. And as Peter mentioned, it is free and very, very helpful in your search engine optimization journey. The second piece is if you already have one, how to optimize. Because we very often find a lot of our customers say like, well, look, I've got this. I've actually set up my Google business profile, but I'm still not seeing this influx of traffic. And like all things, guys, it is a continuous journey. And that's why we've given some tips on things you can do to optimize your actual profile so that, again, you keep on telling Google business is operational, you're getting customers are engaging with your and either loving it or not having a experience, but also how you then respond when customers don't have a great experience. So what we'll do is we'll post the links to those articles in the actual chat itself. Yeah, and you guys can go through that as well.
Excellent, thanks, Naz. Yeah, so yeah, that's Google My Business or Google Business Profile. Very, very useful and, like I say, an easy one. If you don't have one set up, set it up. It also works really well with or multi-store businesses. You can manage them quite easily from one sort of dashboard, and wherever, you know, if somebody's searching for something in the right location, your store will start popping up there. The other thing to just consider when optimizing for local SEO, specifically around profile, is the reviews. It's a hugely important part of getting the, first of all, on maps, and then second of all, there's another section in a search result called the maps pack, where we'll, if somebody searches for, I don't know, tire fitment, for example, there'll be 4 or 5 local results that show up in a local pack, and those are usually ranked based on either the relevance, if your business has is like a very, very solid match for that search, you'll likely be on top. But if there's a number of highly relevant businesses all competing for those results, the reviews are really where the rankings are going to come from. So do try and get as many reviews as you can. It will take, again, a little bit of time to interact, because you really want to review and sort of feedback and respond to all of the reviews that you do get. A lot of business owners say when we suggest, what if somebody leaves a negative review? Our answer is always, it's how you respond to that review. People know that people aren't always going to be happy. Not everything goes well, and oftentimes people who are going to leave a review are a little bit upset about something. But a really strong response can turn that negative review into a wealth of, I guess, new traffic, as people see how it's been responded to, how it's been handled, and it sort of boosts that credibility of the business, of the site. And also it's nice to see that there is somebody there paying attention, and, you know, if there was a mistake, apologizing; if there wasn't, just explaining what actually happened. So reviews are key. You can encourage reviews. There's a Google Business has where you essentially can share your review link. You can add it to certain pages, to apps, and that sort of thing, just to generate more reviews. Again, that builds credibility for the search engine, so Google can see a lot of people are leaving reviews. You're a real business, and then me as Mr. Joe Public, and see, okay, these guys, I think they're a legitimate business. Let's go on their website. So definitely a nice low-hanging piece of fruit that very, very easy to start sort of implementing now. I just saw a question come in a little bit earlier around this multinational or businesses that might be in more than one location. Search, one of the things that SEMrush does, I'm not sure if, let me just go backwards here. High quality content, do keyword research, etc. SEMrush does offer multinational sort of search, so we'll be able to see what people are searching for based on their location, their country, and their language. So it is definitely the answer if you're going after more than one location. The keyword planner should be enough. So SEMrush definitely pretty much any other paid sort of keyword tool. Very useful if you're looking to scale, go international, multinational. The same with sort of this setup, multi-store, matter, as long as we can verify business does actually exist in that location, won't be a problem setting this up. So the next side of this, and this is probably the most important part of SEO after that keyword research, is tracking your site's performance. Again, Google provides, there's Google Analytics, Google Search, and these two slightly different things. We'll have a quick does, but what we want to do is decisions based on data. Easy as a business owner to sort of feel what your site, I feel like we need to do this, and you might have had a chat with someone at a bar. They were talking about something that their agency is doing, or that their internal team's doing, whatever it is, or that they've done that's helping their site. It might not always be a good idea to do what other sites are doing, mainly because your audience is going to be different to any other business out there, really. Ideally, your content will be unique. It'll be slightly different to what other competitors in your niche or your industry are doing, and you're providing real value. But how do we know what people are actually doing when they land on your site? And that's where the analytics comes in, and really understanding how the users are behaving. So in this snapshot here, I hope it's big enough for, well, anyone to see. I've just got essentially the key, like I guess the important top level stats that we want to be looking at. First of all, we've got the sort of channel grouping. Channels is essentially where is your traffic coming from. I've got a website, I've got some social media websites, or maybe I've got a YouTube video somewhere, and how are they all feeding traffic onto my website? Google Analytics will be able to tell you. We can see here that this site, for example, has got social media, paid search, organic search, display, direct, referral. All of these are sort of branches of organic, except for the paid side. And we want to just be able to see where that traffic's coming from and help us identify valuable sort of traffic sources, and also help us optimize channels that maybe aren't performing as well as we would want. So definitely useful to see that. But getting to that actual user behavior, again, measuring how users are actually interacting with the site. We can see bounce rate, pages per session, average session duration. Bounce rate, you always get a question on what is a good bounce rate. Well, first let me explain what a bounce rate is. That's when somebody lands on your site, or they land on your web page, and then they leave immediately. And that's usually not seen as a good thing, either because they haven't found the information that they were looking for, or they did find the information that they were looking for and they left immediately. So bounce rate is highly subjective. There isn't like a good bounce rate we should be aiming for. That depends entirely on your website. What creating, what kind of actions do we want those visitors to take? Actions and that sort of thing we measure as conversions. Again, it's a really good idea when sort of looking at your site to try and figure out what you want each page to do for your business. Yes, for users, we're trying to attract users through those content drives into those pages, but what do they do once they've landed on your page? Do you want them to just read your blog post and leave? Or do you want them to leave an email? Do you want them to then click through to a product page? And these are all key considerations that need to, I guess, be baked into the whole process when we're identifying the content that we want to create. And then we use tools like Google Analytics and Search Console to then measure the performance of those pages, see what's actually happening when somebody's landed there, and then based on this data, take the appropriate action, either add call to actions or maybe change the content a little bit so that we're getting better traffic, etc. And in this example here, this is an e-commerce website. We can see they've made quite a lot of money, and we're able to see where that has come from. There are other reports. We can't dive into that now, unfortunately, because of time, but we'll show you exactly, what products, what pages these consumers or these users have viewed, how they've interacted, and based on that, we can start coming up with, I guess, theories and hypotheses, and then start making changes, updates, and tweaks to the site to try and improve that performance. So that's one of the key values of Google Analytics. Let you know exactly what's happening, how people are interacting, and then this is an example of Google Search Console, where we get to see search impressions. An impression is anytime somebody does a search for your website. If you're a plumber, somebody types in plumber Bryanston, how many times was your website seen in that result? We're able to see that from Google Search Console. It's essentially a nice snapshot of what the search engine is seeing. It gives you average position. This always confuses people. So when you look at that, just remember that this is every single search term that your website's relevant for. So it's not going to be very, very low. Sometimes it's good to have a high average position because it means you're relevant for a lot of search terms, a lot of keywords. But it's mainly this impressions and then click-through rate. Click-through rate gives you an idea of how often people are clicking on your result when they see it in a search result. And very, very important to little things that we can do to try and improve that click-through rate. We were talking here, that sort of yellow pages listing. Let's tweak that copy. Let's, we can look at little things to just change an update that will have an effect, a direct effect on that click-through rate. And then finally, we've got the queries, pages, countries, which gives you other information around your site. What search terms are people actually typing in? Unfortunately, with privacy now and a lot of HTTPS sort of URLs, we don't actually see a lot of queries. A lot of the time it just says unknown or undefined, but a lot of the time we do get some good keywords too. So that's what to sort of optimize for. Tells you what pages are being the countries, devices, are they coming on? What are we creating for? Typically for mobile, it might look a little different to something that you'd create for users. So there, and then finally search appearance, which is what was it seen in. So run through. I know that's all sort of headline stuff. It's not really in depth, but we start playing around with getting a lot of information from. And if you are interested in finding more about Google Search Console and to Google Analytics tutorials, Google have got a really, really easy to use sort of explainer for all of these tools. It could take about a day or so to get very, very comfortable with. From there, you can start drawing and I guess optimizing yourself based on what we can see the users are doing when they actually land on the site.
So Peter, just actually on that note, because we know how important it is to measure the effects of your efforts, right? So that you can keep doing more of the things that work well, stop doing the things as well, so that we can make sure we save time and optimize. Anybody in the audience session around measuring the analytics and any other digital platforms, just let me know in the chat if of interest to you, to how we hunted down to help us with SEO. Let us know, and we will find the right people that can help on this particular.
Brilliant, yes, and it's one of the things that, like, algorithm, I guess, the agency was built on was just data. We don't make any decisions without. Whenever we sort of exclude that or skip it for whatever reason, our plans just don't seem to work, and because it's not based on anything real. This is a nice way to see everything that happens on your site. So yeah, definitely, if you haven't got these set them up. Also very, very easy to link to your site. Again, just doing a search for Google Search Console, it'll be a step-by-step guide to get it all out, and it starts tracking. So yeah, in summary, these are the things that you can do now. So keyword research, we spoke about that, massively important. That's how you figure out what are we going to write about, what are we going to talk about on the site, what are people asking, which tells you what sort of content we need to create, what format does it need to be in. That then ties into the on-page optimization. So if you've got a website or social profile or something and it's not showing up as much as you'd like, you're not getting the traffic you're looking for, let's update things like the page titles, descriptions. Let's look at the copy and see how we can tweak and adjust that so that we're going after the keywords that we've discovered. Create high quality content. We've looked at a number of used to figure out what that needs to cover. What are we going to talk about? Think about your website, really. Look, it's only got one page in it. I think that book was written for a slightly thicker one. And your website kind of needs to be treated the same way. So your cover would be your homepage, and then all the content in your page do you have? How much of an expert on this topic are you? You know, and that's what a Google search engine or Google crawler is looking for. As an example, something like Bing, they're looking for some websites with really good body of copy behind it. They've explained this topic in really in-depth detail. They can be considered experts in their field. And that's where the on-page optimization, then creating high-quality content comes in. We need to be creating that content in order to draw in those users. If you just create a site and sort of leave it, it's kind of like a pot plant on the windowsill. It will eventually start shriveling up and not looking as good as it. And so we've got to water our websites, make sure that they're blossoming and growing, keep adding new pages and new content, and that will really help them, I guess, perform in search. Optimizing for local SEO, very, very important. One of the easiest things to do. Don't skip on that. You see that a lot. Save them some Google Drive or there's because of a business phone number can be quite tricky to when you don't have your logins. Measure that performance. Try and gather as much as possible and help guide the decisions that you make working forward, either around content, what's working, what isn't, what needs to be updated, or what would the next step be in growing the traffic to the site. And a couple of tools. These are them. Just a quick recap. Google Keyword Planner, Google Analytics, Google Business, Google Search Console. Free, easy to set up, lots of tutorials, very quick and easy to start it with. And I'm really, really good at, but investment, just understanding. And then finally, yes, these tools aren't what they need. These are some sort of paid options that you could consider. We've got SEMrush, keyword research, multi-regional, multinational, multi-language. So you can do other language searches as well. I've added Screaming Frog here, something we haven't really touched on in this talk, but the technical side of SEO, which is making sure that your website is healthy, really, that there's not things like broken links, you're linking to pages that all work. This tool will help you discover, identify, and sort of start figuring out how to fix them. Then we've got SERPFox. This will help you track your rankings in search. So if you've discovered 15, 20 really good keywords you want to go after, you can pop them into a tool like SERPFox and it'll track those rankings on a daily basis. And you'll be able to sort of see that performance. How are we ranking, trending down? And Mangools, a set of tools. It does keyword research. It does the rank tracking. Very, very useful. Very, very easy to use. One of my favorites, actually. A brilliant set of tools. And then if you've got a WordPress site, almost everybody does, then Jooste SEO plugin, very, very useful and highly to add things like titles, meta descriptions. It also helps quite a bit making sure that your site is indexable, discoverable, which is very, very important to search. So that pretty much wraps that. We'll leave it on.
I know we're like literally on the minute, but there were just a couple of questions that I just want to touch on very quickly. One is around Google Analytics. Is it necessary and how would you whitelist your own devices to separate the organic searches from your internal employees searching your site? And that's a question from Tabo. Very good question, Tabo. So, because I mean, you would obviously have all your employees going to go test your new site, and that might make your numbers appear a lot higher than they actually are because it's your staff. So, Peter, what would you say to that?
So there is a way in the settings in Analytics to essentially block your IP. So if you don't know what your IP is, you just go into Google and you type in, what is my IP? And that number that pops up there, it'll be like a 18.001. something. You just take that, you can put it into the block IP section, and then any traffic coming from that address will not be counted. So if you have developers working on your site, it won't count them as traffic. And then you can block pretty much any IP that you feel relevant. So if it's your home IP, your business IP, so that it's not counting you as part of your traffic, will definitely help you get a clearer picture of the visitors to your site.
Awesome. I'm very happy Bennett view of Google and Google Trends. Agree, good tools, and again, so we will share a lot more hub around some of the free tools. You would have noticed Catherine in the chat has put links through to Google Business Profile and how to optimize if you already have one. I did see a question, let me just go back to it, about a driving school, you know, just in terms of having a Google Business Profile and it's not working. Or so sorry if I'm pronouncing it. Definitely at the article that we've got around if you already have a Google Business Profile, which previously was called Google My Business, how to optimize it, because again, just creating one doesn't necessarily do the work for us. There's things that you continuously can do, and there's some tips within that article that I think you'll find pretty useful as well. And then I think there were a couple of questions and posts around whether this content is going to be available. So guys, on the same link where you would have accessed the Google Business Profile, there's a wealth of other articles as well as masterclasses, all on VHub. So if you go under SME Masterclass, there's a little menu item there. This and all the other sessions that we've had before is definitely where we store all of this information as well, so that it's accessible to both yourself if you want to, you know, go back to something that was covered, if you want to share it with some other people within your entrepreneurship community. That's the reason why we've got it available. So yes, please do visit VHub. The link is, you can find it within the chat, and we will just make it available again to you guys as well. But yes, thank you so much. Yet another awesome. I definitely learned a lot. Very closely now, especially on our SEO journey as well as a larger corporate. And I can tell you guys, I think one of the things that excites me so much about this is the same things that we would be doing as a big brand like Vodacom are the exact same things that are available and accessible to you as a small business. So please do take this opportunity, take the knowledge, take the insights. It literally can't hurt. What it can do is just bring you a lot more customers as well. So Peter, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, we look forward to bringing you back onto our platform again in future.
Brilliant. Thanks, Naz. Great to be here. Hope that was useful to everyone. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. And we'll be back soon.